Hello and welcome to BT Golf, and today we find ourselves in the midst of a thrilling Hollywood climax. The difference here is that this time it's not a fictional plot but world golf instead. In a move that's shocked golf professionals all over the globe, the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour have announced a shock merger with their rival league, the Saudi Arabia-backed LIV Golf. Now this is after months of an out-and-out war. Joining me today to discuss the end of this golf civil war, Shiv Kapoor, well-known Indian golf professional who has been a regular on the DP World Tour and Asian Tours. We also have Joy Chakravarti, one of Asia's top golf correspondents, who's been covering this controversy since the very beginning. And we have with us Wing Commander Arun Singh, former Director General of the Indian Golf Union. Thank you so much for joining us. But before we discuss this huge shocker, I wanted to take our viewers through a basic timeline of this controversy. Here goes. Financed by the Public Investment Fund, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia, LIV Golf is launched in October 2021 with former professional golfer Greg Norman named as CEO. The list includes several major champions and former world number ones: Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Sergio Garcia, and Lee Westwood, to name a few. The PGA Tour announces that it would suspend players joining LIV Golf indefinitely from the tour. Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy backed the PGA Tour and turned down LIV Golf contracts. Tiger, in fact, turns down an offer of close to $1 billion to join LIV Golf. The same month, a group of 2,500 survivors or family members killed or injured during the September 11 attacks write an open letter to golfers thanking them for not moving to the Saudi-backed LIV Golf. The LIV Golf Invitational Series event starts on the 9th of June 2022 at the Centurion Club near London. The league has a prize fund of $405 million, with regular season events having $25 million as their prize purse and nearly double the prize money for winners and participants. It's a 14-event schedule with 48 contracted players, including India's Anirban Lahiri. LIV Golf and the PGA Tour file a series of antitrust claims against each other. LIV Golf sues the PGA Tour, alleging anti-competitive practices for banning its players. The tour countersues LIV Golf. In January 2023, LIV Golf signs its first national broadcasting deal in the United States. And finally, on Monday, the 6th of June 2023, in a move that shocked the world of golf, the PGA Tour and DP World Tour announced a merger with LIV Golf, agreeing to combine their commercial operations and rights into a new, yet-to-be-named for-profit company. Shiv, I'm going to start with you. They say you have no permanent enemies or friends in politics, but I think we can safely apply that to world golf too. As a player, did you honestly ever see this coming?
Look, I guess they say never. We all hoped and we all figured for this to move forward, for both tours to move forward, a resolution had to happen. I don't think anybody expected it to happen all of a sudden. Every player was taken by surprise. I think it was very hush-hush, done behind closed doors. But I think the headlines are a bit more misleading. You know, the headlines say LIV Golf and PGA Tour merge. That's not exactly what seems to be playing out. I think there's still a lot of information to come out, but correct, it's definitely not a merger between the two tours. It's just more of a peace offering between the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia that funds LIV Golf, correct, and the PGA Tour.
But what's the buzz like on the international circuit? Is it being rejoiced in the Middle East?
Yes and no. I think still not enough information has come out. Nobody really knows what this means. It just means that there's, a peace between the two parties. They're going to form a new organization on top of the PGA Tour that's going to have a new name and a new entity, which will have the chairman of PIF and will have, representatives of the PGA Tour that will basically form a tennis-like structure of the ATP, where they control, golf around the world, which has its positives but also has its negatives. Now, how will it play out for some of the smaller tours in the world? Will they still get their due like they have been? There's more questions than answers at the moment, really. I don't think enough people know, but one thing's clear: it's definitely not a merger. I just think it's going to play out as though the PGA Tour continues to play up to the FedEx Cup, and then we're going to see something new in the team format play out
Correct.
towards the fall. So again, like I said, lot more questions than answers, but a step in the right direction. I think everyone needs to come on common ground, and we need to basically stop the war that was pulling apart professional golf.
Correct. We tend to get to know what really the players are thinking, and that's also brought out a lot in the media. Arun, I would like to ask you this: as an administrator, who's taken care of the tour, what's your reaction to this, and what is probably the IGU's reaction to this merger?
I'm not qualified enough to give you the IGU's reaction as of now, because I no longer work with IGU. But as far as administrative viewpoint is concerned, I personally thought it was coming. If you see PGA itself, it has a history of changes every few years. It's not an organization which was always fair, and it is not an organization which did not have its disputes. I do presume that the money which PIF, the Public Investment Fund, brings will do good to a lot of professional players, and I have been always a believer that all the professional tours are all about players. They making enough money, they all have a short shelf life, and they must make as much as they can during that shelf life. So I personally think this was coming, and after all, the PGA of America and PGA Tour itself had a breakup in 1968. Okay. Then they came out in early 1970s. You had a controversy recently, I think as late as 2014, when the PGA of America's boss said something gender specific, and he had to be sacked. And even today, I think professional bodies are not absolutely fair and inclusive. PGA of America has got an inclusive charter only in 2014.
I'm going to throw this question to Joy. You're one person who's covered this issue, extensively. Did you ever expect it to come out in this way and sort of at least bring that kind of peace offering to, global professional golf?
Absolutely not. I mean, day before yesterday was a shock, as much as it was for probably Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. It was a shock for all of us. Nobody really expected it. Greg Norman did not know about it till about 10 minutes before the announcement was made. It was quite surprising, but surprising in a very good way. Mm-hmm. So, it's the thing about this is that, as Shiv rightly pointed out, it's not a merger between the LIV Golf as well as the PGA Tour. It is not. It is just that PIF, which backs and which has almost conceptualized LIV Golf, they are now friends with the PGA Tour. So it's going to be good for the LIV Golf as well. I mean, it's going to take a lot of headwind out of what they are facing right now.
Correct. But like you said, players find out at the same time as pretty much the rest of the world and the media. What do you think would be Tiger or Rory McIlroy's reaction? I mean, Rory, of course, later on has said that he's still against LIV Golf, but he sees, this merger as a good thing for world golf. But, for players like Tiger and Rory who backed the PGA Tour all the way, what do you see this as what would they be thinking after backing the PGA Tour through and through?
I think yesterday Jay Monahan spoke to a few media, and one thing that he was very adamant about was the confidentiality part of it. And he said that I'm not sure whether that is correct or not right now after listening to all the players. But it was done in a very hush-hush manner. Even till last week during the Memorial Tournament, Rory was going on about how Ryder Cup Europe should not have European Tour players. And Jack Nicklaus, who is such an integral part of all this and like a Bhish Pitama kind of a figure in world golf, and him saying that we don't need LIV Golf Tour players to be part of Memorial. We are happy with it. It was all still very anti-LIV, very anti-PIF, or rather anti-Saudi in sentiments. And then suddenly, everything changed. I'm sure, Rory says that he got to know about it at 6 o'clock in the morning. 10 o'clock was the CNBC show on which Jay Monahan and Yasser Al Rumayyan appeared. And spoke about it. So, still I would say Tiger and Rory would have been the first to know about it. I mean, somebody like Greg Norman did not know about it, which is quite. And Bryson DeChambeau said that he was told about 10 minutes before the show that something like this was going to happen.
When we talk about these leagues, tours all over, they are player dominated. Now, Shiv, this question's to you. If you were to get to know about this just 10 minutes before a show going on air, what would be your reaction?
Look, I think the PGA Tours always call themselves a players' tour, and for the players to find out through Twitter and through the media doesn't really reflect very well on the organization. These are decisions that impact the lives of professional golfers. As Mr. Singh very rightly pointed out, you have a very short shelf life. So whatever decision that's taken today, it's going to have ramifications for the current players and the players to come in the future. So, when you call yourself a players tour, I think any decision that you take should be done in consultation with the players. I understand there's a confidentiality clause that goes with it, but I can tell you this, and Joy would know this very well, it wasn't very well received at the players meeting in Canada. If you were to take a poll, I think at least 75-80% of the players were very upset about it because you're finding out. Yeah, and what does that mean? People that have stayed loyal to a tour and turned down large signing bonuses, can those players that jump ship to LIV can just walk back in? What does all of this mean to the players that stayed loyal to the PGA Tour? And no worse way to find out than to find out in the media and not actually being consulted over these kind of decisions. We have a players committee in place to voice the concerns of the players. I understand this is a business decision, but it impacts the players as much as it impacts the organization. So it's definitely not the ideal way to do it.
Well, the one man in the eye of the storm is PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan. He said he knows he would be called a hypocrite, but now with the players calling for him for his resignation, Arun, I've got to ask you, will he ever get a good night's sleep?
I don't think so. I think the optics are very, very bad. Ultimately, it's a players' tour and players don't get to know. And in a sense, people who are very, very loyal, they have been actually put on the stakes. I mean, people like Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, and I personally suspect even Mr. Greg Norman is going to go. So I think it has been pretty bad, but it's more like what happens, what you hear about corporate conspiracies. I mean, ultimately, when people who make the corporate decisions, they make sure that all the other stakeholders are wiped out or put on the side. I think this is something like that. It is good to call it a players' tour, but I think players did not have as big a voice as we all imagined.
Shiv, I've got to ask you this. LIV golfers who were suspended indefinitely by the PGA Tour can now reapply for membership from the end of the 2023 season. But what about the ones who turned down millions to join LIV Golf? Should they be compensated?
Look, like I said, it leaves more questions than answers, this whole announcement. How are you going to allow people that have sat out for the last 2 years to slot back in? Based on what category, based on what ranking, based on what exemption? And, the players have been told by Jay Monahan that they will be compensated. My understanding of that is what's probably going to end up happening is the PGA Tour is going to launch its own team series, which I suspect would happen after the FedEx Cup. The fall finish for a long time, the October through sort of December window has been sort of a dead space for the PGA Tour. This is pure conjecture. This is not based on anything I've heard, but I just think this would be the logical way forward. Is with PIF funding coming in, a new commercial organization. Your January through September is your FedEx Cup. You've got good TV ratings for that. You add a new exciting team element to it, which goes from October to December, backed by PIF. Your television ratings go up. your broadcast right money goes up, and that's a way of rewarding the players that didn't jump ship to LIV. That seems to be the only sort of logical answer. And maybe LIV and the team series sort of combine somewhere, but I find that very hard to happen. I think the tours will exist independently, but the PGA Tour will have some sort of way of making a team element into the fall.
Right. Joy, this one's for you. There are huge...
Disha, can I just add something to this?
Sure.
So it seems yesterday, Greg Norman had a meeting with some of the team captains and also with his staff in Florida. And he told them that there's actually nothing to worry about. The LIV Golf Tour is going to go ahead with its tournament. It's full steam ahead. And as I was talking earlier, he also feels that many of the headwind that they have been facing, that's going to go away. So LIV Golf is going to be there. There's going to be a new kind of a world tour. And as Shiv said, we don't know the details of it. The fact that you were talking about the players being compensated. See, not all the players were given an offer. And guys who have taken the offer, like for example, if say Bryson DeChambeau, if he's being paid $150 million over 4 years, he's not getting that entire money in one go. And apart from that, it's not like that the PGA Tour players have not been compensated. Starting this year, they're getting guaranteed prize money of $500,000 each player. Even if they don't make that kind of money, at the end of the year, they will be given $500,000 each. The Players Impact program has gone through the roof. It's just all the top players are being rewarded by millions of dollars. It's a $100 million program this year. The FedEx Cup bonus is $100 million. It's not like that the PGA Tour players haven't really made hay while all this controversy is going on. They have made a lot of money, which even I would say, this is controversial, that even Tiger Woods' era did not bring in the kind of money that suddenly has come into golf because of an entity called LIV Golf. Just look at the prize purses that have gone up in PGA Tour. The KFT players, the Korn Ferry Tour players are getting $150,000 guaranteed for the year. So, everyone has made money. I think most of the ire and, the anger in that players meeting was because players feel that they own the tour and they were not told about this. That's one. And many of the players who are playing in Canadian Open, apart from a few like Rory, are some of the players who are lower down in the rank, and they are a bit worried about their future. If suppose 20 LIV Golf players come in, then there are going to be 20 players who are going to go out of the PGA Tour, those who play week in and week out. So those are the kind of things that was, they don't mind money coming in. If PIF is going to put in $1 billion, they will be happy about that. I can assure you that.
Correct. But Joy, money aside, you can't not talk about these huge political the ramifications of this merger. With families of 9/11 victims, Amnesty International issuing criticisms of what they are calling Saudi sports washing. Your take on that?
See, the thing is that how long are you going to not forgive a country or not take into account a few things that have happened in the past? So I've been going to Saudi Arabia and Shiv has been there, and the wind of change that has blown over there is mind-boggling. There was a Mariah Carey concert one of the years, and there were women over there who were dancing, and they were all, Arabic women as well. And those kind of things we never even imagined happening in Saudi Arabia. Well, sports, they have taken it as one of the verticals out of 13 that they are going to be very gung-ho about.
Yes, that they would be focusing on, yes.
Yeah, they will be focusing on. That's part of Vision 2030. And it's just not golf. Just look, Karim Benzema getting $400 million and moving to... They want the best footballers to come and play over there. They want the best boxers to come and fight over there. They want the best. The F1 is already there. I mean, golf is just a small part of what they're trying to do. Entertainment, they've got so many different artists now coming in. And there was once a time when music was almost banned and movies were banned in Saudi Arabia. Now Indian production houses are coming and making movies in Saudi Arabia. They're shooting the films over there. So, I mean, they have moved and they're moving in the right direction. And sports is just a part of it. So, I mean, all these things, everyone wants to get noticed. Sports is one of the best ways of getting noticed.
Correct. I'd like to pose this to Arun. We're talking about the top golfers in the world. You know, you're talking about the world number ones and the world number 10s. What do you see in terms of the world number 100, the world number 150? Do you see this as something that would benefit them? Or how do you see that panning out for the top golfers in the world, but not the ones, you know, in the top hundreds?
Yes, I was coming to that. And in fact, just to add to what Joy was saying, and you can't live only in the past. I mean, if you go into the past, the same PGA did not allow people of color to play. It did not allow people who are non-Americans to play. Okay. So they have enough of prejudice and enough inequality which they have practiced themselves. But today they are a much better organization. Hopefully PIF backed LIV also will be a much better organization. What is interesting about LIV Golf is the reason they have succeeded is partly, of course, because of money, but it's also because of complacency and arrogance which federations or players' bodies or tours get into it when they become monopolistic. They start believing in their own infallibility. They start believing in the fact that they don't want to change. I think LIV Golf has brought out certain nice things. It has given representations to, you know, have-nots of the world, for example, Asia and Africa, etc. It has got a nice concept of team golf, and it is surprising that despite the success of Ryder Cup, which competed with Olympics and World Cup soccer in terms of TV viewership, PGA never thought of having a team championship other than Ryder Cup.
Correct.
It's surprising. And LIV Golf has given a jolt. And coming to your point is absolutely valid. You had world number ones, people like Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, whose voice could be heard. But what about people who are world number 50, world number 100 is too far? No one heard their voice. It was the administrators who ran the show.
Correct.
They probably, you know, the top golfers had a voice. Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods could voice whatever they had to voice. But in general, what you got to do is to make the golf more as a profession. You want the world 200 to make a good living. Absolutely. You don't want only the top 10.
You want a wider base.
Yeah, absolutely. You want even world number 500 to make good money. So I think it's a welcome change to have so much of money. It's a welcome change, what Shiv said rightly, to have something like sports and entertainment combo. It is the future of sports. I mean, sports and entertainment have to combine to become really good. So I think his analogy about IPL was very, very spot on.
My final two questions. I'll start with you, Joy. I know you're not a psephologist, but what's your prediction for the post-LIV PGA League for the future?
See, I think the only stumbling block right now is how the PGA Tour players are going to react about LIV Golf players coming in, and that is the only thing that will matter at the end of it, because, as I've said, money talks. And money is the reason why most of the professional golfers are playing professional golf. I mean, obviously trophies are important, but if there is no money, how do they look after their families and things like that? So I see this working out well. I mean, I know Rory said that he hates LIV and things like that. Why a different format should not work? I mean, my question is, if tomorrow a LIV Golf event is played in India, just imagine. I mean, we have had big tournaments over there, European Tour co-sanctioned events and things like that. But how many superstars do we get? Ernie Els we got 1 year. We got Adam Scott one year.
Coming 1 year, yes.
But just imagine if there's a LIV Golf event, it guarantees that there will be Phil Mickelson, there will be Bryson DeChambeau, there will be Dustin Johnson, there will be Brooks Koepka. I mean, these guys are guaranteed to play if there's an event in India or as it was in Australia and in Sydney, in Singapore. So, I mean, like, it is a great model of an event, of a golf event, and it is interesting. I've been to quite a few of them, and I've really liked the way the fans have enjoyed it. I really like the quickness of the tournament. It is good. The other thing that I just wanted to point out was that it has been good also to the other players, like the number 150 and the 200s of the world that you were talking about. I mean, LIV Golf made a commitment of $300 million for 10 years for Asian Tour. Because of that, I mean, Asian Tour was in such a bad shape because of the post-COVID. I mean, there was zero earning for players for almost 2.5 years, or rather 2 years. And then suddenly there were no sponsors coming in. I mean, if there was no LIV money, I'm sure many of our players who were good players would have turned, say, professional coaches or things like that. I mean, they would have probably given up professional golf. So that was one part of it. The PGTI benefited out of it. I mean, they have got about $2.5 million coming in every year from DP World Tour through their, I mean, the collaboration that they have now. I mean, that's been good for our PGTI players. Each of the tournament on the PGTI is now 1 crore prize money. I mean, there were very few which had 1 crore prize money till last year.
Correct.
So, I mean, the entire thing of LIV coming has actually benefited down to the last players, I mean, to the last professionals. So, I think it's good. And obviously there will be more money coming in with this new tour. And I just hope that it is a world tour. It goes to different places in the world, because America has just got that much number of golfers. We have more potential in Asia, and in Australia, they're just starved of golf, So I think it should just go to all places in the world.
A final word from Shiv. Anirban Lahiri is the only Indian who's actually played in a LIV golf event. If they were to approach you, would you? And what is the suggestion that you like to give them in case they wanted to do something India-centric?
Look, I think any player, or I shouldn't say any player, but most players, if they were offered, would go. There's a lot of hypocrites out there that say, I wouldn't take the money. But there's many high-profile players that have, as Joy would also know, have accepted offers and then reneged in the end, worrying about, the repercussions of the PR backlash. But I think most people would take it. I would definitely go and play. I think Anirban's greatly benefited from it. The format's great. Even when IPL started in cricket, a lot of the senior cricketers scoffed at it and said it's not real cricket. And today it's become, front and center of the cricketing world. There is a place for Test cricket. There is a place for T20 cricket. And the same thing, there is a place for 4-round championship golf, and there is a place for entertainment, 3 rounds with, crowds throwing beers on the green. So I think there's a place for all of it. I think India is a big market. It's ready to boom. I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised over the last 2 or 3 years with the kind of traction that, golf has been getting. All the golf courses are full, all the corporates are playing. But it is a big ticket item. LIV Golf is not something that comes cheap. And, for a country like ours, I don't know if we're quite ready yet, but when we are, I'm sure the crowds will throng to it. And it's a great product. It's proven to be, really fun and exciting to watch. And it's, the very fact that the PGA Tour has been forced to change the way they operate tells you all that you need to know.
Right. Well, whether LIV lives on world golf or not, well, BT Golf is definitely here to stay in Indian golf. Shiv Kapoor, Joy and Arun, thank you so much for joining us on BT Golf.
Thank you.
Thanks, Disha.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.